A crazy story about a deep pit and a wild cat, but a profound truth. Welcome back. I'm Gila Ross, host of the Power Up podcast, where we share short, relatable ideas to impact and upgrade our everyday lives. I've got to tell you this crazy story, but hear me out, because I think we're going to find out something profound from it. So there's a young girl, and she's walking in a deserted place on her own, and she falls into a deep pit, and she can't get out, and she's screaming and shouting for help. And there's a young boy that's walking past, and he hears her screaming for help. And he asks her, "Are you human? What's your name?" And she answers him. And he says to her, "Will you marry me if I save you?" And she says, "Yes." And he lifts her out of the pit. And he says to her, "I want you to marry me right now." And she says, "No, hold on a second. Let me go home. Let me tell my parents, my family about you, and then we can get married." So he says, "Okay, you go home to your family. I'll go home to my family, and then we'll meet again and we'll get married." But they're in this deserted place, and there's no one to really witness what their engagement. So they think to themselves, and they think, "Who's going to bear a witness to our engagement?" And they look around, and there's that deep pit, and there's also a wild ferret that's walking past. So they said that the witnesses are going to be the pit and the ferret. And then they part ways, and the girl goes back to her family, and the boy goes to his family. And unfortunately, the boy forgets. He forgets about the girl, he forgets about the promise, and he goes and he gets married to someone else. And with his new wife, they have children. And unfortunately, tragically, one of their children died. Tragic accident. He fell in a pit and was killed. And obviously they were heartbroken. But it was a tragedy. What could they do? And then a little while later, they had a second child. And this child gets attacked by a wild ferret and it's also killed. And the wife turns around to her husband and said, "Listen, if one of our children would have died tragically, I would have accepted it. But two of our children die in such weird, tragic circumstances. What's going on?" And the husband says, "Oh my goodness. Oh, yes, you're right." And he remembers the story when he was walking past and he heard that girl crying from the pit and he saved her and he made the promise to marry her. And he says to his wife, he tells his wife the whole story. And his wife says to him, he says, "If that's the story, then we got to get divorced and you got to go and find that girl." And they get divorced, and he goes back to the village where the girl was, and he wants to find her to make right on the promise. And he asks people, "Where is she?" And they say to him, "Don't bother with her. She's gone crazy. Anyone that comes near her, she just acts crazy." And he says, "You know what? Let me try." And he goes up to her and he tells her those two words. He says, "The boar, the pit, and the ferret." And suddenly she drops her veneer of craziness and she recognizes him, and they end up getting married. What's going on in this crazy story? So, firstly, we have to know this is an Agadah. What's an Agadah? It's a story that's written in the Gemara, in the Talmud, and it makes you stop and think and question what is going on here. And when you sort of look into the story and look at the different details, you come up with a profound real life understanding, and it's specifically written in such a way to make you stop, think, and make the lesson memorable. So what's going on here? So the Talmud says he is emet, truth, and she is emuna. We'll talk about what emuna is. Actually, we spoke about it in the last episode, but we'll define it again in a moment. What's going on? He is truth. And we often think that truth is what we need. I need to know what to do. I need to know what the right thing is to do. I need to know what the truth is. But the nature of truth is that it's very short lived. Yes, he knew. And at the moment when he made that commitment to her, it was real and he meant it. But what happened? He went and then he forgot. But what is she? She is emunah. We translate it as faith, but it's more accurately described as faithfulness, as we described in the last episode, right? It's a loyalty to the truth, that once we know what the truth is, we're loyal to it. What is she? She goes back and she never forgets that truth. She never forgets that he's going to come, that he made that commitment and he's going to come for her. And she acts crazy for years and years and years and years. And what's interesting is, in the story, when he's married to his new wife and the first child dies, crazy thing with the first witness in the pit, he doesn't recognize that. And the second child dies with the other witness, with the ferret. It doesn't ring an alarm bell in it. It's his new wife that recognizes that faithfulness. She recognizes that something is going on here. She teaches him emunah, loyalty. This is the relationship between truth and emunah, that faithfulness, that loyalty to the truth. He asks her questions and he establishes the truth, but then, and it's genuine, but it's very, very short-lived. But then she is loyal to that truth, even though when it seems illogical, right? It seems it's years have gone by. It seems he's never coming. Forget about it. Move on. Go on with someone else. But no, she is loyal to the truth to the end. And that is the reality in our lives as well. There's two parts. There's knowing, right? There's having the knowledge. And we often think that that's enough, but it's not. Once we have the knowledge, we need to have that, what we call emunah, that faithfulness, that loyalty, to be able to live and travel that long road to bring that truth to reality. And interestingly enough, emet is him, and emunah, the faithfulness, is a female attribute. And if you think about it in the way of the world, the woman is the one that takes the child and is pregnant for a long time, right? She's the one that nurtures that pregnancy and then brings that child into the world. And it's the same thing here with our loyalty. That's what we bring into fruition when we are able to know something. Yes, that's step one, but it's not enough. The real work then is being loyal, is having that strength, that courage, that determination to be loyal and live according to the truth. Thank you for taking the time to listen. I'd love to hear what you thought about this. You can get in touch with me. You can find me on Instagram. And please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss out.